The Desire line from HTC gets updated once again, this time with a couple of lessons learned from the Desire Eye. Well, one in particular, and you can find it on the front. Hey, it's Joshua Vergara from Android Authority. What's going on, everybody? And this is the HTC Desire 826. In terms of design, the 826 continues the very good looks and feel of the Desire line. As we saw with previous Desire devices, even with a somewhat larger screen, this still feels quite comfortable in the hand, but aesthetically, this two-tone color device looks very attractive, and it comes in multiple colors, though in general, you will get a smooth polycarbonate body with an accented soft touch ring. That's the second tone of the two-tone that I was talking about. And then, of course, a couple of these additions may or may not be available, but we did notice that a glossy back can be available depending on what color you get. A flap hides the micro SD and potential dual SIM slots, while the audio jack is located on the top. Situated on the right side are all of the buttons, including the power button and the volume rocker, that are almost completely flush with the body, which may make them a little bit hard to operate, but it wasn't too bad for us. The boom sound speakers also return here, and they are essentially invisible on the front, and they do the same thing that the Desire Eye was able to do, and that is basically hide the front-facing speakers in small slits on top and below the screen. The display is a 5.5-inch full HD screen, and it looks quite great. As you can see here, HTC has done a good job with their LCD screens, and the trend continues with a full HD 1080p display here on the mid-range Desire 826. As far as performance goes, we do have the Snapdragon 615 processor, which is an octa-core 64-bit that you're going to see in many of the mid-rangers over the following months, most likely. There's 2 GB of RAM, 16 GB of storage, and micro SD card support. There will be LTE support for this, and we don't know what carriers it will come to in the West just yet, but you can expect it to be on the LTE networks, and a decent 2600 mAh battery, which is a small step up given the somewhat larger size of the 826 from the Desire Eye. Now we're going to go ahead and talk about the cameras, but obviously we don't really have any samples to show you just yet because we were just getting our first hands-on with this phone. Nonetheless, we do expect to put these cameras through their paces once we get our review units. Nonetheless, the 13-megapixel shooter on the back is supplemented now by a 4-megapixel ultra-pixel shooter found on the front. It's basically the one that was found on the HTC One M8. Now, this could be a good idea actually for the front-facing camera in particular, because selfie takers will be more interested in looking good in the picture, and the low light performance of the ultra pixel camera will probably make most situations easy for those users. The interface on the camera is largely the same from the Desire Eye, with the ability to use the front, the rear, and also both in tandem for pictures and even videos. Another big highlight of this phone is seeing Sense with 5.0 Lollipop. Yes, Lollipop is running on the Desire 826, and it brings all of the different elements that you would expect, with Sense on top putting its own modifications to the Android experience. We do like Sense already. It is a very nice Android iteration that is not too robust, but also not too simplistic, and it does a good job of blending in with the elements of the Lollipop build. It's safe to say that if you've had a Desire device before, the 826 will not feel very different, but there are going to be enhancements across the board that allow it to really stand out on its own. The two-tone coloration in the Desire line is something that most other phone lines don't really do, and the ultra-pixel 4-megapixel up front will allow for some really good selfies in those situations when it's not really ideal otherwise. Nonetheless, it's a very good-looking device, and it does feel very nice in the hand, and we think that it's a good mid-ranger that is available here at CES 2015. So keep it tuned for our future coverage of the Desire 826 by HTC, and remember to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and keep it here because we are your source for all things CES 2015.